you're thinking about this and this diversity that you have, how do you look at that in terms of how you're connecting with the audience, and what are the insights that help drive the decisions you make in that content?
Great question. I think first off, the diversity is a great word to use here because the way you can utilize the different ways of posting content on Snapchat is huge. First up, you can have, Spotlight, which is amazing for the 10 to 12-second videos that I post, the quick recipes, quick lifestyle tips. And then there's also a way to save all my recipes on my highlights page, on my stories page forever to see kind of what the vibe of my page, what you're gonna get. And then in terms of my day-to-day Snapchat, I probably post around 70-ish frames a day, which I think is, first off, amazing for brands to be integrated in because of the fact I am posting so much. And I try to do a little bit of educational. So I like to do workouts and recipes and like some tips. I did this like cottage cheese thing yesterday where I was like baking cottage cheese into a tortilla. And so I want to give, the user a tip, but at the same time, I think my Snapchat community is most loyal because of my day-to-day life that I share more on Snapchat than any other platform, because they're getting about 70 frames. It's real, it's raw, it's authentic, and it's unedited. And kind of what Francis was also talking about compared to, the other platforms, I personally think my community goes on Snapchat and sees me as a best friend. The other platforms, they might see me as an influencer or as that creator, but you do go on Snapchat and you're looking for that best friend content. You have the app because you're Snapchatting your best friend. So they see me as a peer, which creates so much more loyalty, to my audience. And kind of going back to what we talked about with some, misconceptions about it as well. I just love to point out some of my favorite misconceptions about it is, the fact that Snapchat could be for 14-year-old boys per se, but my audience actually is 82% female and between ages 25 to 34. So it's very great for consumers to, create that sense of community and loyalty towards me. So it's a really, it's a diverse audience, but also very diverse content where I really try to be my most relatable self. And we hear it 10 times a day, probably in this industry of authenticity and authentic self. But it's true. It's the most authentic app where I can be my most self, which I think creates so much more loyalty to, if I have any brand partnership, the loyalty is so much stronger there.